This is the HAN Network.
Welcome to HAN Radio's Behind the News, the show where three veteran Connecticut news editors go behind the stories with the columnists, photographers, reporters, and editors who covered them. They will discuss not only Hersham Acorn stories, but take a look at the media landscape in Fairfield and Westchester counties. They will discuss it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. With John Kovach and Josh Fisher, here's your host, Kate Czaplinski.
Thanks, Rob. And we're back live on the HAN Network. Kate Czaplinski with Josh Fisher and John Kovach. It's been a while since the three of us have been sitting at this table for Behind the News.
Really great to see both of you.
I can.
And I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I feel much better now.
Well, we have a lot to discuss today. First up, we're going to be talking about more about that missing Easton couple. Patty Gay of the Weston Forum has been covering that story. It's been unfolding all week. A lot of strange and unusual details coming out, and the couple's still missing. So we're going to be talking about that. Josh, what else do we have coming up?
We're going to be joined by Aaron Berkowitz, who took over the Shelton
Herald.
Herald, the Shelton Herald this summer.
It's the only non-alliterative paper, so it's not that hard.
Well, it used to be the Huntington Herald.
That's right.
So, and Aaron's a young guy, just graduated from college, and he's already making his mark in Shelton after having large shoes to fill, replacing longtime editor here, Brad Durrell. John?
And we're also going to look at the top stories on our HAN websites, which, not surprisingly, that list is dominated this week by this mysterious disappearance of a couple from Easton. Joining us on the phone, Kate, is Weston Forum editor Patty Gay, who has been covering this story as the wife who is missing is a Weston school employee. Patty, thanks for joining us.
Oh, hi, everyone. How are you?
Hey, Patty. So, Patty, this is certainly been quite the story this week. You've seen it all over, and all over the tri-state area and nationally. First off, do you have any updates this morning about this couple? And then could you give us a little background?
Sure, I absolutely do have updates. I spoke with Easton Police Chief Tim Shaw today, and he told me that as of today, the couple's still missing. The police are still continuing to follow various leads. They have other agencies working on the case, including the FBI and Connecticut State Police Major Crime Squad. They were all working on the case together. And right now, he said they're trying to get historical information from the family. They've also been checking into their cell phones, for information from there. But of course, he really didn't want to tip his hand too much with further details at this time, but he did say it is an active investigation and it's still ongoing.
Now, Patty, tell us a little bit about how this first came to your attention and what happened. This couple was last seen on August 4th, correct?
Correct. They were last seen by family members on August 4th, and then they were reported missing on August 7th. A vehicle of theirs was found at a commuter parking lot in Westport off of exit 42 of the Merritt Parkway on August 9th. So that's kind of our time frame that we're working in. What happened is and I heard about it in kind of an unusual way, but on Monday, Nancy Doniger, the editor of the Easton Courier, she was informed by Easton Police about the disappearance and the fact that they were missing in order to put an announcement out on the Easton Courier's website, which she did. But then I read that on her website, and I said, well, you know what, Easton's close to Weston. I'm going to also put it on our website and let people know about it. Well, when I put it on, I got a call right away from a reader who said, did you know they actually, even though they are from Easton right now, but they just moved there. They're actually from Weston, and they've lived in Weston for many years, Jeffrey and Jeanette Navin, and they are really Westonites. And the fact is that the wife, Jeanette Navin, has worked at the Weston Public Schools for 18 years, and she's been called a beloved employee. So there was a lot of concern from Weston people about their disappearance. So even though this is technically an Easton case, there really is a lot involved in the town of Weston, and that's how I started getting involved in it, and trying to talk to people and find out more about, the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of Jeffrey and Jeanette Navin.
Now, Patty, one of the first details that kind of started coming out this week just about their lives was that Jeffrey owns a refuse company, correct? And you were kind of looking into that this week, making some calls. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, what I did was, again, part of my investigative nature of how I handle things is once I realized that there was a strong Western connection with this missing couple, who, by the way, Jeffrey Navin's 56, Jeanette Navin is 55. And so I started to Google them and try to find out more about them. And I found out, looking at the Secretary of State records, that he is listed as the president of J&J Refuse. And I went online and found out that they are a sanitation company in Westport, and that he indeed is the president of that company. So I was reading about them, and then I noticed that the website went offline for some time, jjrefuse.com. It went offline for some time on this Tuesday, but then it was back online on Wednesday. I don't know why it was taken off for that short period of time, but it was. But then, so reading it, it says that the website says that it's a family-owned company, that the principals grew up in Westport. So I take it that it's a Westport sanitation company.
And also, they've had some financial troubles, right, Patty, that you uncovered?
Yeah, I did, and then I did a lot of digging on this. And again, all these stories are on our website, thewesternforum.com, if people want to look at them. Then another place that I turned to look at was the Connecticut court documents and court records to see if they were listed in anything. And sure enough, they are. There was two major cases involving them that actually less than 2 weeks before they disappeared, the court ruled against them to reopen and re-argue either case. And I thought that was significant, the timing of it. So less than 2 weeks, this happens. The court says no to two of their cases, and they disappear. One case involved the foreclosure of property that was in Jeffrey Navin's name in Guilford, and he owed more than $2 million in a mortgage on that property. And this foreclosure had been going on for since 2007, but tons of appeals were filed, and they did everything. He did everything to prevent the foreclosure. Finally, in July 23rd, the court said no. The appellate court said, we're not going to let you re-argue the case. It's done. The foreclosure stands. And then Connecticut Light and Power, in another suit on the same property, 7 Hart Landing in Guilford, they filed a suit against Jeff Navin and a man named Robert Cassidy for unpaid electric bills on that same property, 7 Hart Landing in Guilford, for $139,000. And again, the appellate court came down and said on July 23rd, no, not going to be re-argued. The case stands. You owe $139,000. So basically, two very harsh financial decisions came down in court against the Navins. And in addition, there was something very unusual about this Robert Cassidy. Again, I read all the court documents that were online that I could read, that I could find about the Navins, and in numerous court documents, Robert Cassidy, apparently he was a tenant at 7 Hart Landing, and he was described as a retired priest, and that right now he's currently undergoing chemotherapy treatment in Texas. And I don't know if there's any relevance to that, but it just sounded like, again, just another unusual factor in a case that seems to be growing more unusual as time goes on.
Patty, John Kovacs, just a question. You said that the J&J Refuse website had been down. Do we know if there was any interruption in collections?
Yes, there were. We also called J&J Refuse to see if anybody would talk to us. And instead what we got was a recording, and the recording said that there were going to be some delays throughout the week in collections. So that there were actually some delays apparently with the collections, and the service was interrupted. But that's all that we got. That's the only information that we were able to get.
Also, you said that the vehicle was found in a commuter lot off of exit 42 off Demerit Parkway. Yep. Was it intact? Was it damaged?
Well, I'll have to tell you this, honestly. I don't know firsthand, but what I have read from somebody put a comment on our website about the case, and just from somebody who made a comment, they described it as a pickup truck that had been vandalized. So that's what I got from from an observer of the case said that about it.
Now, Patty, the family issued a statement. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, and this was kind of a somewhat, again, a little bit of an unusual kind of statement issued by the family just a couple days ago. Actually, yesterday. They said, we are shocked and saddened at the unexpected disappearance of Jeff and Jeanette Navin. There are no words to describe the impact this has had on their parents, siblings, and children. We wish only for their safe return, and we ask for anyone who has seen either of them since Tuesday to contact the Easton Police. Financial issues recently reported by the media have not been proven to be a factor for our family members' disappearance. Information from the authorities indicates that there are available funds still in their bank accounts that are untouched. We, the entire Navin family, ask for privacy and respect during this overwhelming and troubling time. So that's what they had to say about the case.
Now, Patty, what are people around town saying about this? I know you spoke with the superintendent of schools in Weston, right, where Miss Navin worked. What are some of the things that you're hearing?
Well, first of all, the people really liked her a lot in Weston. The superintendent called her beloved. She said they were deeply, deeply saddened and troubled to hear the news about that she was missing, because she was a very well-respected and well-liked employee, and she's due back on the job. You know, this wasn't something that, you know, she didn't take a leave or anything. You know, they were expecting her back to work. So they were very troubled by it, and they said that, the superintendent said she has cooperated with police. She'd spoken to both Weston Police and Easton Police, and they offered all the information they had about her to the authorities so that they couldn't do the investigation. And then I spoke to some parents who knew Jeanette Navin, whose children had gone through the intermediate school and knew her, and they said she was very kind. She was a very warm person. They like her very, very much, and they're just praying for her safe return, that she comes back and she's okay.
Wow. There any, I mean, you certainly hear about, from watching the movies and everything, someone who works for or runs a sanitation company about some, you know what I'm,
Yes,
some
that comes into people's minds.
Yes, that comes
for
into
sure.
people's minds. I don't know. Have you asked questions related to that? Or have you heard anything about that?
Absolutely.
And,
Well, I'll just cut to the chase.
Yeah, please.
I directly asked about if there were any mob connections or mob involvements possibly in this case, because that's exactly what came to my mind. A couple years ago, the New York Times did a huge expose about some of the major crime families in New York who had branched out to Westchester and were muscling in on legitimate refuse and sanitation companies and trying to take over their businesses. So it has been an issue out there that legitimate sanitation companies are at risk. So I did ask the police if there was anything on it. All they would say again is, it's under investigation, and they have nothing to report on at this time about that.
Wow. It really is. I mean, it's just a fascinating story and also very troubling. I mean, I've heard mention that this couple did travel a lot. I mean, do police think there's any chance that maybe they just kind of picked up and left on their own and didn't let anybody know?
Well, I don't know, but again, another unusual circumstance in this case is the fact that they lived in Weston since 1994. They had a house at 37 Osborne Farm Road, and the title to that property is just in Jeanette Navin's name. Okay? On June 1st, they sold that house for $900,000 to someone, and that's when they moved to Easton. So they've only been living in Easton since the beginning of June. Now, that $900,000 sale, they only had a $150,000 mortgage on that property. So that would lead one to think that they probably had a substantial amount of equity in that house. Again, I don't have confirmation of that. I just know what I see on the land records. So that's what they had. And again, I think that by reporting on that information and the court information, that maybe prompted the family to say, you know what, they left, but there's money in the bank. Again, we don't know how much money they left in the bank. We don't know the circumstances about that. But they did have a recent sale of property. They did come into some money. And that's all we know right now.
Wow. Patty, Easton and Weston are both rather quiet rural towns with very little, Weston Center has a few businesses in it, and Easton has some farms and, a deli and a shop or so. Has there been a lot of media in town this week, and how are the locals, so to speak, reacting to all this attention?
Well, I do know the Weston police did get some attention when the story broke, and they've been talking to some media, but it's not really their investigation. It's really right now it's an Easton investigation, and in fact, I don't think the Easton police have relinquished it to the other authorities and other agencies. I think they're still the lead in this. So really, it's an Easton story right now. But I will say this: as we speak, our reporter, New Western Forum reporter Greg Menti, he's on the case. He's up there now at Osborne Farm Road, talking to people to see what people are thinking and saying. So we're still doing more investigation ourselves.
And Patty, we should say you got another request to do an interview later today. I mean, people are just so interested in this story. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, Lisa Wexler of the Lisa Wexler Show on WGCH, which is AM 1490. She's asked me to be a guest on her show today at 4 o'clock to discuss this case. And Lisa is also the probate judge in Weston for Weston and Westport. So I do think it's because it's such a sensitive case where we're looking for innocent people out there. People are trying to find these people, and because it's so important, I said yes, I absolutely would be on her show because I do think that this is an important story that needs to really get out there.
Now, Patty, you really haven't been the editor of the Weston Forum for a long time. You've been at the paper.
No.
This is some story to break in as editor with.
Yeah. You know what? You never know about these things when something's going to come up, and you just have to roll with the punches with it. And it just kind of is a shocker actually that these people seem to have just totally disappeared without a trace. You don't expect to see that in this day and age, in this society, under these circumstances.
Right. What else is happening in Weston?
Well, actually today, after I hang up with you, I'm going to a swearing-in ceremony at Weston Town Hall for Officer Christopher Powers with the Weston Police Department.
Oh.
He's going to be sworn in as detective. And I believe Mr. Fisher knows Christopher Powers.
Oh, yeah. When he was when he left the Marines, probably around 2001, he was working for a short while at a deli that I frequented, and he and I kind of, I used to take a great advantage of their free refills they offered at the Village Deli in Richfield for coffee, so much they had to actually change the rule that he couldn't get an afternoon. But Chris and I became fast friends.
Thanks for ruining it for everybody, Josh.
Hashtag story of his life.
So, and then it was fun to see him then become an officer in Weston, because at that point then I was working, Sherry, in the Georgetown office at the Reading Pilot as a reporter, which shared an office with the Weston Forum, and used to see Chris around all the time. So please, Patty, give him my best and congratulate him for me. He's a really good guy. He's like one of the best guys out there, I think.
He is so personable. He's so good with the public. I'm just really thrilled. It's very exciting. And also, I just have to mention this. He's replacing Carl Filsinger, who spent 22 years as detective in Weston. And Carl, also a great mentor, a great person. He's retiring. He deserves all the accolades that he gets for his retirement. And Chris is taking over. He has some big shoes to fill, but I think he'll do it.
Yeah, well, that's good news. So tell him, it's too. I guess maybe they can let him to Easton if he wants to really get, his detective-ness going.
You know what? I might ask him if he's going to invest. I think I will ask him if he's going to be doing any investigation on this case, because maybe he will be. I think that's a good question for me to ask him when he gets sworn in.
I think
today.
so too.
Thanks for that, Josh.
Let's hope that he has it wrapped up by Monday. Also, Patty.
Okay.
It will be
Okay,
certainly an
very good.
early
Thank you.
test of his detectivity.
Well, Patty, we should we should mention if anyone has any information about the missing couple, they should call Easton Police at 203-268-4111. And you are just following this case, and you're on top of it, and we really appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Yep. I'm going to keep following it. any time of any day that any more news pops up, it could be midnight on Sunday, it doesn't matter when, I'm going to post everything I can on the westonforum.com website, and so people can stay tuned there and know that anything that I hear will immediately be posted.
All right. Thank you so much, Patty.
Keep up the good work, Patty. Thanks.
You're welcome. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, we are going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Aaron Berkowitz of the Shelton Herald after this on Behind the News.
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332. And online at stratfordsmile.com.
Spring is finally in the air, and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
August means tennis in Connecticut, and the top players are gonna be here. Be there as some of the world's best women compete for the title at the Connecticut Open presented by United Technologies. And the boys are back for the Men's Legends event presented by PowerShares Series with John McEnroe, James Blake, and more. Experience a variety of food trucks, hands-on activities, live music, and so much more for the kids and family. It all adds up to one legendary week. August 21st through the 29th at the Connecticut Tennis Center in New Haven. Get your tickets at ctopen.org.
You're watching the HAN Network.
Welcome back to Behind the News. John Kovach with Josh Fisher, Kate Czaplinski joining us for the first time. Somebody I met that was enthusiastic and has joined us as editor of the Shelton Herald, Aaron Berkowitz. Aaron, thanks for joining us on Behind the News.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm really happy to be here.
Aaron, that's like a typical Aaron response. He's always smiling and just seems happy to be here.
Do you think he means it? I think he does. I think he means it.
He does.
Yeah.
He's been a great addition to the newsroom here, and it's always fun when you have someone new come in who isn't as jaded as the rest of us yet.
I think that's why I was enthused when I interviewed him. I mean, I talked to him for the interview when Brad Durrell moved on, and I got out of the interview. Jeez, this kid's got me really fired up about my chosen profession. It's
I
probably a good
remember
sign in
how
that.
excited you were about the interview. So
Yeah. Honestly, this is something that I'm passionate about, and I feel like it's been a good mix so far. I can tell everybody here brings something that I can learn from, so I'm just really excited to be here. Thanks for having me again, guys.
And tell us, Aaron, just a little bit about what it was like to kind of get thrown into Shelton, which I don't know how familiar you were with it. What was that like to kind of learn your way?
So this is actually my first job out of school, so they kind of threw me into the Lions Den, but so far it's been great. Everybody here has been really welcoming. It's a learning experience, obviously, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. I really like what I've seen so far.
What have you found about being a new reporter in Shelton, which is kind of politically entrenched? It's got some old school businesses and really has had not that much turnover in editors really over the past few years.
Yeah, I've actually been really fortunate, like you guys. Here's Smacorn's obviously in the transition of becoming more digitally friendly, and Shelton's obviously in the transition of becoming, they're trying to do a lot of developmental projects, so I just feel like it's a really good time to be the new editor here.
Yeah. There's a lot going on downtown,
Exactly,
right? You've been
exactly,
covering
yeah.
some of that. What are some of the plans?
Well, they're trying to do a lot of developments to downtown. They want to attract more people to come down there. They're doing a lot of new businesses, a lot of small businesses. It's one thing I really can appreciate. Coming from New Haven, you don't really see a lot of that. It's a lot of city vibes, but over here it's like they're trying to keep the business inside Shelton. A lot of good things going on.
Locally owned businesses.
Yeah.
I know they're one of the towns that tries to kind of keep the chains in certain areas or away altogether, right?
Yeah, you can say that. A lot of small business here, a lot of business owners from Shelton keeping the business here. So it's, yeah.
Now, one cool addition that you've added to the paper is this Person of the Week, which is not necessarily like a Renaissance type thing, but it was new to the Shelton Herald, and it was neat to see someone, I think, who's just out of college to. What made you want to add this to the community newspaper and website? I feel like a lot of the time newspapers and news media in general can cover the same people that have things going on in the city, and I just feel like it was an opportunity to show what else is going on here, get people to know each other. I mean, it's obviously a small town. A lot of people do already know each other, but it's just a good opportunity to highlight some people who are doing something different in the community. Right, and I was just looking at the Facebook posting of this, which is just full of all these cool comments like, thank you, Shelton Herald, for writing this. This week was, the Person of the Week was Leon Sylvester, who's the animal control supervisor for the city.
Yeah, I believe we have a photo of him. But tell us about Leon.
Oh, Leon's great. It's actually kind of cool that I got the chance to speak with him because he told me when I was there that they've been getting kind of like a bad reputation for the way that they handle animals at the shelter, but it's actually not the case. He's got a big heart. He's got a soft spot for animals. And I actually got, Josh, I told you after I covered it, I kind of got friendly attacked with kisses by a dog there. And
I was like, wait, where is this going?
I was kind of overwhelmed. I wasn't really expecting it. I was.
Dogs need love.
Yeah, exactly. There were some friendly dogs there. There was a lot of barking, and I'm a dog guy personally, so it was great. It was great to cover. It was a good story.
Well, Leon's not a stranger to us here because Leon years ago did a fishing column, and Leon has been a frequent guest on my Yankee Fisherman show for the videos that he makes of striped bass. He's a big-time striped bass fisherman, so it was great to see him profiled. And he's a really fun guy to talk to. I hope you found it the same way.
Yeah, he was telling me, and I was watching some of his YouTube videos. He's really cool with the GoPro videos. Made me want to try some of them.
Yeah, we've used some of those on the air, and it's just really great
Does he put any on the dogs? Does he?
I haven't seen it, but that's a good idea.
That's right.
Maybe soon to come for the Shelton Herald.
Wow, but such, like Josh, you were saying, such an overwhelmingly positive response to your
congrats,
first Person
Leon,
of the Week.
Well, this is not your first one, right? You've had this
No,
is the third?
this is the second.
Okay.
Third one's coming up, but I'm excited for the ones that are up to come.
So how are you picking the Person of the Week?
Well, we're putting out little ads on online through Twitter and on our website. We're asking people to send in submissions. So if you guys ever have anybody, feel free to reach out to me at editor@sheltonherald.com. I'd love to speak to who you guys are interested in.
Cool. That's very cool.
What else have you found interesting about Shelton?
Well, I touched a little bit on it earlier. It's just a lot different than what I'm used to coming from New Haven. It's a smaller town. Everybody's really welcoming. And I'm not going to say that the people of New Haven aren't welcoming, but it's just a different vibe being here. And it's been really friendly. It's been a nice adjustment.
Right. A lot of longtime politicians. I mean, have you worked much with the mayor yet, Mayor Mark Loretti?
I actually just started seeing him on my weekly meetings, and he's a great guy. It's been a really nice adjustment. I like to see where, especially this year, being that there's a new election coming up.
Yes.
It's nice to see what he's gonna. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of running around, but I'd like
You
to
also
see what each candidate
and
is
that's a
bringing.
good time to get to meet everybody too, whether it's
Definitely.
people who are going to be elected or people who are running for re-election.
Yeah.
I think as a new editor coming in the odd-numbered years when the municipal elections happen is a good opportunity to really get a feel for what the politics are like in town and who the players are.
And go ahead.
Go
John.
ahead, Kate.
I was gonna say, I was out to dinner for Indian food on a Thursday night, and it was probably almost like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And you walked in. You were there for a work meeting, so
Yes,
you're just
exactly.
hustling right now.
I'm trying. Like you guys said, I'm just trying to get more familiar with the people in town. I had my meeting with Michelle Bilek, who's running for the Democratic Party in Shelton.
running against Mark Loretti, which is a tough place to be
It should
in.
be a good race, though. It
Yeah.
should be a good race. She shared some of her ideas and what she's trying to bring to the table, and it's a nice, fresh perspective. And I think we're going to see some interesting race this year.
Oh, cool.
One of the things that you find, I think, as an editor, and this will be your first exposure to it, at least in Connecticut, the odd-numbered years, the politicians want you. They want to talk to you. As soon as the election's over, they have no time for you. You're done.
I mean, I guess I'll end up finding that a little bit about as a little bit more time goes by. But yeah, like Mark and Michelle have both been reaching out to me like crazy, so it's been good to keep in contact with them, you know?
Now, there are some development changes that could really alter the appearance of Shelton. Some downtown, some on the outskirts of town that we could finally see something built on a long vacant site, it appears?
Yes. Actually, talking more about downtown, they're talking about opening a 5-story building, about the Maddo building that burned down last year. So that should be a really good developmental project. There's some businesses going on that are going to be open on the first floor. The second floor will be open to, I think it's office space. The third, fourth, and fifth floor are going to be some apartments. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, I mean, we are here in Shelton, and we're on Bridgeport Avenue, which is like a lot of office development and a lot of chains and but it's developed very nicely. I always think the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission did a good job about how they designed
nice
everything. It's a nice looking road. It is no post road in Milford. Sorry, Milford.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the downtown area was kind of lagging and nothing was really happening there. And now it's exciting because it seems like a lot is happening there.
Yeah, the city's definitely getting more aggressive, and they're trying to make it just as appealing as Bridgeport Avenue has become. I really liked it. Like I said, it's been a perfect time to be the new editor of Shelton. I'm coming in a transition phase, and it's nice to see a lot of these new businesses opening up, and people are excited about it. And it's good to see the community behind these small businesses because that's how they're going to last in the long run.
Now, I do love your positive outlook, but have you encountered any challenges so far?
Yeah,
that have thrown you for a loop?
Being that this is my first job, it definitely is a fast pace, but I like to think that as more time goes on, I'm going to grab by the horns and just keep positive, you know?
Have you found any bears in the woods yet?
Yes,
no bears.
Bears.
Kate, as far as from what I've been hearing from Josh, is you're the bear expert. So
well, I do. My dream is to one day run a bear bureau, but Marty hasn't approved that yet. So I'm still
I'll get that through. Don't
I'm
trust
writing
me.
the proposal right now. So we'll
I
see
look
how
forward
it
to
goes.
hearing about that.
And do we know where they live?
Jellystone Park. What the?
Gotta leave a picnic basket.
Come on.
Picnic basket under a giant box with a stick.
I think we might need a new mascot here. It might be having to look like a black bear soon enough.
That'd be a good idea.
We might need to get one of these bears to interview them in the office or something.
Yeah,
you know?
right? Or like we get
They're
video of
not-
it walking around.
They're not that far away from the office. Let me just say that.
I'd rather interview a bear though while it's hibernating, I think.
Oh, they love that. Or while it has its babies with it. Try that one, Josh.
exactly. Okay.
Hey, you asleep?
Hey, you gonna eat all that salmon?
Oh, Lord. Behind the news is stupid sometimes. by the way.
No. Well, Aaron, what are you working on right now for next week?
For right now, well, I actually just did my next person of the week.
Oh, we can't say, right? It's just, we won't say it. That's fine. We don't have to say it.
We won't say
It's a
yet,
secret.
but I'll just say.
How about you give
it's
some
a good
hints?
one.
Can you give a hint?
Well, she's definitely active in the community.
Well, you
Okay.
narrowed
It's
it
a
down
woman.
there.
An independent woman. We
Oh.
can describe her as that. She's very active
As
in
Destiny's
the
Child said.
community. Yeah. As Beyonce said it
As
best.
Beyonce said.
Yes. But she's fantastic. She's definitely very active. I will say she's out in the community a lot. She's
He's
out
actually
in nature
writing a
lot.
song if you want to be writing this down.
Yeah.
Right. So
lyrics.
those are good hints. Okay.
But I'm definitely excited for you guys to check it out next week.
And you had a couple of stories in the top 10. One, the loss of one of the patriarchs of Jones's Tree Farm, which it really is a landmark in
Oh my
this
gosh, I didn't
area
even
and
see
in Shelton. And also the naming of a Shelton resident who passed away very young, conversely, as one of the honorees of the 2015 New Haven County Light the Night Walk.
Right.
So, but there's interesting stories out there. Are you finding, I think as we talked about early on, that being out in the community, you're probably finding in the smaller town stories that maybe wouldn't be news in a city like New Haven, being news in the smaller communities such as Shelton?
You definitely find that, but I think that it is news. In a smaller town, people want to know what's going on around them, so I think it's just as equally important on a smaller scale to cover. And being that we're the Shelton Herald and we're serving this city, which is smaller, I think it like I said, I think it's equally important to cover. I would like to know what's going on in my city, you know.
Yeah.
I wish we could bottle up your enthusiasm.
Seriously.
Start to market it, right?
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah.
I think so.
Days I could use it. I'll tell you that.
Berkowitz juice.
I would start the day with a nice cup of Berkowitz.
Look in the camera 3 and smile.
I don't know. I
Aaron,
might
we
be
like
done.
you.
I might
Man,
be handed
all
off
right.
to this guy after this show.
Well, Shelton's very fortunate.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I like I said, I can't thank you guys enough for having me, and I'm really happy to be here in Shelton. I look forward to what's going to happen in the future. And like I said earlier, if you guys have any stories, feel free to reach out to me at Shelton Herald, editor at SheltonHerald.com.
Great.
Nice.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks,
You've been a great addition to the newsroom down the hall from the studio here.
Thank you. You've been a nice neighbor, Josh.
He doesn't hear that a lot, so that was nice of you to say. All right. Thanks so much, Aaron.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Behind the News after this.
Spring is finally in the air, and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
It's lots of characters. Specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
Kycoat Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Kycoat's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Kycoat Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation landmark.
August means tennis in Connecticut, and the top players are gonna be here. Be there as some of the world's best women compete for the title at the Connecticut Open presented by United Technologies. And the boys are back for the Men's Legends event presented by PowerShares Series with John McEnroe, James Blake, and more. Experience a variety of food trucks, hands-on activities, live music, and so much more for the kids and family. It all adds up to one legendary week. August 21st through the 29th at the Connecticut Tennis Center in New Haven. Get your tickets at ctopen.org.
This is the HAN Network.
We're back with more Behind the News live on the HAN Network. Kate Czaplinski with Josh Fisher and John Kovach. Great interview with Aaron Berkowitz. That was fun to bring him on, guys.
every now and then somebody comes, it just breathes a little life into the office, and he's one of those guys.
Yeah, definitely. But now we're taking a look at some of the top stories. What is standing out to you guys? These are on all our websites, all our Hearst
As
and
I
Acorn
said
websites
earlier,
this
I
week.
mean, dominating the top 10, really the top 15, if not the top 20, the missing couple from Easton as that search continues.
Right. And, John, you mentioned earlier the obituary for Philip Hubble Jones Jr., 96 years old. He is of the Jones family, Farms family. I, met him several times, worked with him when I was Shelton Herald editor. His son, Terry, and grandson, Jamie Jones, now kind of run the operations at the farm. But what an amazing life. Always a gentleman. Came to every event. I just saw him recently when I visited the winery.
Wow.
And this obituary is just amazing. It's up at SheltonHerald.com. I want to read an excerpt from it. He walked 2 miles to the White Hills School, because he lived in Shelton all his life, until the advent of the horse-drawn school bus. Because the country needed food during World War II, he was asked to stay on the farm. With encouragement from his grandfather, he had begun planting evergreen trees in the late 1930s. By the late 1940s, he realized people were eager to cut their own Christmas trees, and with his wife Elizabeth, created a beloved tradition for generations of families to harvest their own trees at Jones Tree Farm. Philip delighted as his son, grandson, and their spouses added new agricultural endeavors which evolved to the current Jones family farms. In the early 90s, he could often be found at his sawmill sawing lumber from trees he'd planted in his youth. And that's what's amazing about that family is they've all added something different now. There's strawberry, blueberry picking, pumpkin picking. Jamie Jones, who is his grandson, started the winery. He went to school and actually studied that and brought that to the farm. So, I mean, it's really just it's a 7-generation family business. It's like incredible.
Have you ever been there, say, Christmas time?
Oh, yes. I've cut my tree down there, and it's an amazing experience in those White Hills of Shelton.
Right out of college for a couple of Christmases, I directed traffic there. You want to see a large number of people drive up a small driveway. Yep. It was an incredible
to
see
very
the
well.
it
keep
was
it organized.
Such a well-oiled
yeah,
machine.
Right.
Really was. And like you said, I mean, this really has lived off that piece of land for that long.
Yeah, it's amazing. And they've purchased other land, protected it from getting developed into condos, actually, which is right down the road at their Pumpkin Seed Hill Farm. It's really just beautiful, not so far from here over in the White Hills of Shelton. So quite a loss. We're thinking about the entire Jones family.
He and his wife, who predeceased him, were married 61 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is incredible.
Another big story we had this week was this 2-week trial finding a Darien Board of Education special education aide for abusing a 12-year-old boy with Down syndrome. The aide who was found guilty is Zachary Hassack, was the nephew of then. This happened a couple of years ago, or this case, but was then the nephew of the director of special education, Robin Pavia, who resigned from there a couple of years ago.
That's a really interesting. I mean, we read that on Coffee Break. Kind of interesting because at first, I guess the internal investigation dismissed the charges, and then when it went to court, they realized that they had left out the actual testimony from the student, and when that was included, the jury found that.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Obviously, there's been a lot of issues with special education in Darien that have been covered by the Darien Times.
Oh, certainly, and this is just another, I guess, not good news, not a good story for the Darien Board of Ed. What else jumped out at you, John, this week?
This incident in New Canaan where the son threatened to shoot his mother and kill himself, but then left and flew to Nantucket, where he was found. That kind of an interesting police report there.
Yeah, there's some things that they get the news and make popular that give kind of reaffirm stereotypes for towns, and that and this is one where maybe in some other towns you get into a fight with your parents and you you drive to New York City, or you drive to New Haven or Bridgeport or just drive around.
Yeah.
But no, this young New Canaan man decided instead he was going to hop a plane, maybe Sandpiper Air, and fly to Nantucket. Maybe the Hackett brothers flew him in there, and hung out, Antonio
With
Scarpacci
Lloyd
gave him a ride around town. He
Yeah.
found a nice place to stay, and
That's great.
that's really a great situation. What was the name of Roy's airline on that? The competing airline that Roy Biggins, I believe, was his name. Ran.
Why are you doing this to me?
Kate has no idea what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
sorry. I
Yeah,
don't.
she doesn't. She missed it. It's great stuff.
Aeromass.
Aeromax. Rob Adams.
Yes. Always more reliable than Sandpiper Air, it seemed, But anyway.
Neither of them wanted to run the airline, right?
What, neither of the brothers?
Yeah.
No, Joe really wanted it, but
Okay.
Brian kind of,
What are we
was
talking about? I totally zoned
The
out.
show Wings.
Oh my
Wait.
gosh, that show was always on. There was just a
because
time
it's
when it was
good.
always
Because it's so
on.
good.
Yeah.
Man, I could really
Wow.
go for a sandwich from Helen Chapel right now.
Why
No,
not?
I used to watch it, but it became, it was like what Friends became for a while. It was like
Oh,
always
it's so
on.
much better than Friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Behind. The only thing that makes that more Darien is if he stops at Vineyard Vines on the way to the airport.
Took the limo.
Oh, boy.
So, and of course, so what's interesting, Kate, you covered the Ridgefield Board of Selectmen for years, and this didn't make our top 10, but it's in the top 15.
Yes.
Di Masters withdrew from the Board of Selectmen race in Ridgefield.
Yeah, she had been a very active Democrat. Di Masters had been on for many years, and she decided not to run again, which is interesting. But, she has, like I said, she's been active for years. I can remember when I first came to Ridgefield, she was running for state representative against John Fry.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
John Fry's tough to beat.
So it seemed like at first she was, considering pursuing higher office, and then kind of stuck with Board of Selectmen, which was always a fun board to cover with Rudy
She was the
Marconi
planning
at the helm.
chairman. Oh, you always liked covering. You like covering Rudy, huh? Rudy's running for his 18th term, I think.
You know what? It's such a shame that Rudy is like I think the perfect politician, and he's just not too many people know about him over in that.
Well,
corner.
Ridgefield is
I
kind of
know, it's
Ridgefield's
its own-
odd.
Yeah.
You know what was interesting? Well, while we're on the subject about Ridgefield, so this Connecticut Mirror has this CT trends they do, and they look at all this sort of data. As maybe the bear was
As
caught
something
behind us. If you
exploded.
heard that little pop there, so they looked. So CT Trend looked at. Based on Facebook data, what town in Connecticut was a Dunkin' Donuts town or a Starbucks town.
Oh.
And
I
there's
saw this and I
only-
meant to
there's
click on it.
only one town in the entire state that's a Starbucks town,
Really?
and that is Ridgefield, Connecticut.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, I totally see that.
That
So-
shocked me, though, because I really expected there to be more Starbucks towns.
I-
I know, and I had this discussion. I actually had this discussion, Rob, with Joe Mixie during the Babe Ruth tournament about whether Dunkin' Donuts was the choice coffee in New England.
That stuns me. It should be the choice
do you-
coffee
It is,
of New England.
I don't think so.
I'm
but,
kind of over Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
yeah,
too
it's
light.
fine. But what's funny, you guys, is that when I went to California last Labor Day weekend, they were opening their first Dunkin' Donuts in Los Angeles.
Oh my God,
people were waiting in a line around the corner. And what's so funny is because when I, as an East Coaster going to the West Coast, is like, oh, you have to have, coffee bean and tea leaf or whatever, and you have to have this coffee and that coffee. But they're all wanting our junky coffee.
And they were
which I thought
acting
was
like the
hilarious. And
donuts are good. The donuts are like the
I'm sorry.
worst
Oh, no,
things
stop.
in the world. They are. They're terrible.
My brother, this is Eric Gendron, who's joining
Owns
you now
Dunkin'
on
Donuts.
the air. My brother's
stop.
a Los Angeles resident, and he was dying for Dunkin' Donuts out
Oh,
there.
well, see,
having
you
having
do miss it. I
Yeah.
agree.
Well,
You
but-
do.
and
I think
go to
Dunkin' Donuts
all
is
the
God's
time.
gift to coffee, personally.
Yeah,
but
I go to
The
Dunkin' Donuts all the time.
the expatriates, you understand it's the novelty.
Yeah.
You go to California, and you got to have In-N-Out
course,
Burger
what-
or whatever.
Pink's, yeah.
I'll tell you
I
what.
go to Canada, I have to have Tim Hortons.
Exactly.
Eh?
I will drink my fair share of Krispy Kreme coffee and Wawa coffee over the next week, and Waffle House
yeah,
coffee.
Wawa makes good coffee.
But I think that if you blindfolded someone and put a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts in front of, like a
my
chocolate and all the
God.
different ones, they wouldn't know the difference because they all taste exactly the same. And Eric Gendron's nodding his head at that. The coffee's good, and the sandwiches are something else.
Yeah. But
They're not
I
advertisers,
did not
are they?
wait in line with all the California.
You didn't travel all the way to California to stand
wait
in line
at
for.
Dunkin' Donuts.
That'd be pretty great if you
I'm
did.
surprised. See, I would have waited just for waiting in the line.
No.
By
I
the
did-
way,
I did go
behind
to Sir.
behind the news is a lot of coffee. You just learned that.
Yeah.
I know. And I left my coffee behind the curtain.
Oh, behind the
You've
news
made it
curtain.
52 minutes and you haven't gotten the shakes yet. I'm kind of impressed with you.
Not yet. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Not yet.
Is it possible for us to maybe step out for another break, Rob Adams? Will that work?
Of course we can,
Then
Kate.
maybe we can get some coffee.
I mean, she asked so nicely,
Yeah.
Josh. I can't say no.
Get
I
Josh's
wouldn't
coffee.
say no. She's sitting next to me.
I'll even go to a break that begins with Kate's voice. So there you go. Take the break, Kate.
All right. Well, we'll be right back after this.
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332. And online at stratfordsmile.com.
Spring is finally in the air and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
August means tennis in Connecticut, and the top players are going to be here. Be there as some of the world's best women compete for the title at the Connecticut Open presented by United Technologies. And the boys are back for the Men's Legends event presented by PowerShares Series with John McEnroe, James Blake, and more. Experience a variety of food trucks, hands-on activities, live music, and so much more for the kids and family. It all adds up to one legendary week. August 21st through the 29th at the Connecticut Tennis Center in New Haven. Get your tickets at ctopen.org.
You're watching the HAN Network.
All right, we're back with more Behind the News live on the HAN Network. Kate Czaplinski with Josh Fisher and John Kovach. And during the break, we were just kind of taking a look at some of the news that's moving right now. I know Aaron Berkowitz is headed out. The Valley Indy has reported that there's an investigation into an untimely death in the Howe Avenue Grove Street area in Shelton right now. And Shelton Police Chief Joel Hurleman said a statement. They'll be sending one soon on that.
We'll be watching for that. Also, Melvin Mason just posted at StratfordStar.com with schools just weeks from opening up. Stratford has announced changes in the start time for two schools. Lordship Elementary School will move its start time from 8:15 to 8:45. Wilcoxon School will go the other way from 8:45 to 8:15. That is at StratfordStar.com. And any start time in schools is met with
your whole routine.
8:45 to 8:15.
Many
That's kind of a
parents'
big
whole
change.
routine is based around that.
Also here, sorry, Josh.
Yeah, please.
The ribbon cutting for the new school named for Victoria Soto, who was killed at Newtown, will be 11 a.m. on August 28th. That
Oh, that's
replaces
great.
Honey Spot School.
Yeah, it's going to be the
Stratford.
Victoria Soto School. Yeah, That's really amazing. It's so interesting. Vicky graduated from high school in Stratford the same year that I did. And so we had a lot of the same friends, though I went to Bunnell, she went to Stratford High. And it was such a devastating loss. I mean, for everyone, but for Stratford as well. I know so many people that were just heartbroken, but still do. There's now a 5K in memory of Vicky Soto. And I think it's great that they're renaming this school in her honor because she died protecting those little kids.
Her memory certainly has lived on.
Right? But, John, you also found an interesting historical item.
Yeah, 150 years ago today was the Housatonic Railroad disaster, which occurred near Trumbull, I think more toward the Trumbull-Stratford line. 8 people were killed. Many were injured in a train accident. Passenger train, and this is from ConnecticutHistory.org, which is a great site for local history, and you don't think about how much happened in Connecticut. But you had a Housatonic Railroad was operating freight and passenger trains on the southern end of the line, which ran from Bridgeport to Pittsfield, Massachusetts. We could have used that last week, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I've got.
But a train with a locomotive and 2 coaches left Bridgeport headed north. Near Trumbull, it encountered a northbound freight train. The locomotive had become disabled. The freight train's crew had correctly set out marker flags to warn approaching trains. The passenger train decided to tow the disabled train back to Bridgeport. As that train was backing up toward Bridgeport, a fast-running locomotive without a train in tow that was conducting tests came up the tracks at a high rate of speed and plowed into the passenger train towing the disabled freight train. The impact, according to ConnecticutHistory.org, citing papers of the time, almost split the car in half lengthwise. Just a horrific story there.
Harper's Weekly, back in 1865, had this amazing illustration of this disaster with the engine on fire, and I just sent it over to Eric to see if we could get that up before we sign off and turn it over for Radio Arts and Leisure.
Yeah, those old sketches.
There it is. Look at that.
Yeah.
That is wow.
Yeah. I do just, guys, before we head out, just a little news from the Shelton Police. Shelton Police detectives, with the assistance from the Connecticut State Police Major Crime Squad, are currently investigating an untimely death at 62 Howe Avenue. The initial call was reported to police around 6:45 this morning, and the investigation is ongoing. More details will be coming out, and you can follow that story at sheltonherald.com. But that's going to do it for this Friday edition of Behind the News. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Radio Arts and Leisure is coming up next, audio only, so be sure to check that out.